All right, Pulaski water update. So at this point in time, my computer doesn't die. I'm going to start off with a short update. The first part of this will be this.
I told in May, Pulaski, Lake Michigan water, and Pittsfield to get in on action. I'm Perry Apostolakos. What that means for town residents. Keith denies has been the town of Pittsfield chairperson for nearly 2 decades.
Sorry about the
Just
bump.
coming of water in many years.
Once asked the village of Howard up to their water supply. It says they backed out, started the annexation. Nye says Pitt tap into a line fed by the Green Bay water utility.
I'm going to try to back up and see
They
if it'll...
backed out as they backed out when Howard started discussing. Denai says Pittsfield could tap into a future line in Pulaski, fed by the Green Bay water utility through Hobart. Pulaski needs state approval and denies Pittsfield will back its neighbor next month at the State Public Service Commission. House is the plan. The same meeting, Pittsfield will oppose Howard's plans to build a pipeline water to a property Howard bought Pittsfield.
If the case would go with Howard,
Sorry, I clicked on that. I didn't mean to.
if it goes to be, there's a potential Howard.
Sorry.
If the case were to go in the way, Howard eventually will take over the majority of Pittsfield. If it goes to Pulaski, there's a potential that we could take some steps to guarantee the future of the township.
Denai says nothing is set in stone yet.
It's either eventually you're going to get the services from Howard, or you're going to get services from Pittsfield. When does that happen? I don't know.
Denai says there's a chance people who live by the planned pipeline could be required to use it, and payments for construction could be deferred or covered by tax dollars.
It's not the town's money, it's the people's money. And our job as representatives is to look at it and figure out what's the best thing to do for the town overall.
Denai says even after next month's meeting with the State Public Service Commission, they could be waiting for an answer until the fall. In Perry Apostolakos, NBC 26.
Okay. So that was...
What was the
That was,
segment where
that was, what's that?
there was that segment where they were in Howard's, and we missed that part.
That was a previous interview
Oh, okay.
that they had with Howard. So that was about, it took her about a minute and whatever to go through the 45 minutes of interview that she had with me, which is standard operating procedure. That's the way it works when you do that. But anyway, so I'm just going to run through some stuff here, the news interview. Just to update people, so if you were here for planning, you heard us talking about comprehensive planning. Town's been doing comprehensive planning. We've been mandated to do comprehensive planning for many years. We did an update on our comprehensive plan, and I don't think it was 10 years ago. I think it was sooner than that. I should have looked up the date, I'm sorry, but that comprehensive plan...
2019.
2019, so about 5 years ago that we updated the comprehensive plan. And part of that is the future land use, that planning, as you can see by the different colors. The brown is agricultural, the red is business, the yellow is primary residential, the kind of a little bit yellow, lighter yellow is the R2 or secondary residential areas. We were just talking about Hillside Drive, about how that's an R2 residential. You can see that area up in there is shaded for future uses. That you can see down in the bottom, there's some gray, which is industrial. That's along Glendale Avenue. That's the area that we're talking about. It's down in there. The town has been talking about development down in that area for many years. You can't have industrial. It's very hard, I should say, it's very hard to have industrial without water. So it's been part of the process. It's been part of the conversation is for all these years is how do we get water? And how do we plan for that? How do we move forward for that? The town has has tried to update and tried to stay with it, and people have let us know. We've had the meetings, we've heard from in the community through those comprehensive planning meetings and whatnot that had public input, that this is what the type of things that we're supposed to be doing. Just because your, as I said, in the meeting before, just because your land is outlined on this map as being a specific color or a specific use, doesn't mean that's what it's going to be used for. It doesn't mean that's what you're going to be forced to use it for. It just means for future planning, that's the potential use. As you can see, Howard also does comprehensive planning and future land use. This is a portion of their future land use. As you can see with the green line, that's the border of Pittsfield. So part of their planning process is planning in the township of Pittsfield. It's what they've been doing, the same thing. They've been planning what they're looking at doing now. Another part of their comprehensive plan here, on page 20, when they talk about intergovernmental cooperation, it reads, the comprehensive plan, and that's a picture of the town of Pittsfield's sign out in front of the community center. The comprehensive plan outlines potential growth areas. When Howard annexes existing town lands, it will inherit responsibility for many streets and properties built to rural standards. Streets without curbs, storm sewers, and sidewalks will gradually be improved to include those features over decades. There's a period there. That's a change in the sentence here. It says homes built without public sewer or water service will gradually be converted to public services. In some cases, it may make sense to pursue street reconstruction or urban standards to urban standards or sewer and water extensions prior to annexation. You'll notice on number 3 here, work with government entities. Bay Lake Planning Commission, Wisconsin Department of Transportation, Department of Natural Resources, Brown County, Oneida Nation, etc. to implement policies that further village objectives and reinforce village plans. I think there's something left, there's a municipality left out of there. Now you could say that's included in the etc., but you got our sign right next to that. During the process, as things were moving through, the town over the years has entered into discussions with Howard, and this is a map, a proposed annexation map that is in the filing for their PSC case, which I'll get to in just a minute. This is the map of what they're talking about taking over the future corporate limits of the village of Howard. So they are aggressive. It is an aggressive growth plan, but that's what they're doing. Again, this is another map that I've shared. I shared this at an annual meeting once or twice. These are street plans as to how they can lay out streets. North of Glendale Avenue, between Sunfield and Sunnybrook. South of Coonish Road and Anston Road. Again, just to show planning. There's been talks about mandatory hookups. If Howard is going to annex, they do have a mandatory water connection ordinance, 36.30. This is their ordinance that is on their books. A building located adjacent to a street in which there's a public water supply shall be connected to the public water supply, unless otherwise approved by the village board. I don't know if that's ever happened, but I would find it probably hard to believe that it had. So let's talk about Pulaski and their water. That's what this update is. The other part was kind of information. So Pulaski has been moving forward on looking to put a transmission line up to replace their current system, which is well water. That well water supply, they've determined that that is not what they want. They want to get Lake Michigan water for a number of different reasons, for quantity, for quality, for reasons that they want to have. That's a Pulaski decision. Pulaski's wants to get the water. For Pulaski to get Lake Michigan water, it has to come through the township of Pittsfield. Pittsfield can't say no. There's state law that says Pittsfield cannot stop them from getting water, even if we wanted to, which I think would not be a good thing anyways. So, Pulaski went through a bidding process, and they determined that they selected the Green Bay Water Utility as their water supplier for that process. They're going to run a water line along that red line, along the Mountain Bay Trail to Coonish North Road, south down, across Highway 29, down U, across Glendale, across Highway 29, and then over until they eventually connect up to the water tower, which is over kind of across from Maplewood Meats. That line there might not be accurate. They're actually talking, I believe, to run down W or VD and then up U. So that might be different. But basically, that's in Hobart. But they want to run that line through there. Part of the bid process was a bid from Brown County Central Water Authority. They also bid. They would have run a line. They would have run along line similarly. They may have taken a different route, but it was similar to this to get Pulaski water. After the selection process of Pulaski made its selection process, it actually went and had an auditor look at their selection and the numbers and whatnot, and they stayed with their selection. I shouldn't say they ever changed. They had that done before they actually made the selection. So excuse me, take a drink here. After the selection process, Howard acquired and purchased a property along School Drive. You'll see a black dotted line along County Trunk Highway U, south of School Drive, actually immediately south of the Illinois School District property. The Village of Howard acquired that property, and because they as a village bought it, they have the right to annex it. So they annexed an island in the village, in the township of Pittsfield. They did that step. They then approached the township of Pittsfield requesting to run a water line along the green line on this map from the intersection of Marley and County Trunk Highway C over to County Trunk Highway U, up past their property up to School Drive. That is a 20-inch main, 20-inch water main. That's a big water line. And it's going past property that they own. It is for future planning. The town rejected that proposal. We have the right to reject that memorandum which was sent to us, and the town board made a decision that we would reject that. We felt, at the time we estimated it, our engineer estimated that line was going to cost about $1 million to run in. We were not privy to the fact that it was a 20-inch line. Eventually, when we did find out what it was, that is a $4 million project. Upside of $4 million to run that line. So, part of the process in moving forward with any time you're putting in water supplies is you have to apply to the Public Service Commission. Okay, I'm going to answer this question. I'm sorry I'm jumping ahead. So I'm going to answer this question. If Pulaski runs a water main line through the town, does that mean Pittsfield residents automatically have water? There's one word answer to that. No. The Pulaski line that's being run is to supply water to Pulaski. That's it. That's the application that Pulaski is making to the Public Service Commission. They, as I was starting to say, anytime you start to run water utilities, whether it's Howard running that 20-inch line or Pulaski running a main line, they have to put an application into the Public Service Commission. They both have put applications in. Now, before I go into that part of it, to further answer this question is only if the town decides to make water available. So part of the process, when we started discussing this and I had at the annual meeting, part of the input that I had from at that time this place was packed, the input is that we should look to see how we can do and what we can do to get water if that would stop or help keep the township borders as they are. The town board has been doing what we were asked to do. If we weren't doing that, I think we would be derelict in our duties. So we are going to continue to look at these and examine the options that are out there. And that includes getting the possibility of getting water from Pulaski if Pulaski runs a water line through. So here's that land use again. Those lines are coming through. So you saw that. Part of the process again, the town board doing what it should do on a responsible basis. When we found out that there was a possibility that we may be able to get water from Pulaski if they ran a line, we contracted with the Mead and Hunt, our engineering firm, to do a master water study plan. That would be the next step. Okay, if we're going to have water, the possibility, what is our actual needs? So we did this water study plan. It was on this south portion of the township, and it's broken down by different sections for usability, and we can decide, if we decide to do a portion, it's broken down by cost into these different sections. The big ones down there, number 1, where you see the dot and the arrow coming in from the side, that is the corner of the Lanois School property. Pulaski is already working with the school district to put a building there, so when they bring the line in, I believe it's a pumping station to increase the pressure. Is that correct, Brandon?
A booster station.
A booster station at that location that would then boost the pressure. If they put that booster station in there, if the township were to move ahead and decide to become what's called a retail customer of Pulaski and start supplying water to residents in that area, that would be where the connection would be made, would be at that booster station. That's why that one is categorized as Area 1. We had to break this down into reasonable, estimatable areas. You can see the clear white part right next to the one. That's that annexed Howard property. Area 2 runs along Glendale. We've discussed that's another possibility of running water at this point in time. There's also the possibility of running water up to number 4, but that is not as sure either. We heard during public comments about the multifamily. There was a rezoned area for multifamily. Obviously, that might be a potential that would need water. There's also, if you look at Area 2, there's 20 plus acres that was recently purchased along Glendale by Tycor Built, which is a company that puts in subdivisions. They didn't buy that to farm. They're going to eventually develop that. I don't know when, but there's the potential. That's why the town has to talk if we are being, again, if we are doing what's responsible as supervisors, we have to look at the options. And we have to look at what is the cost going to be to run water, where the different areas might potentially be. Here's the Pittsfield area construction estimate for Area 1. 1.5 million was what that estimate was. Part of $500,000 of that was a water meter building. This particular estimate does not take into account the fact that if we could go cooperatively with Pulaski and share their building, that would significantly reduce that $500,000 estimate. So this number is actually probably lower. I'm going to point also out here that 3,280 linear feet of this is 12-inch diameter water main. Only 240 feet of it is 16-inch diameter water main. Howard is talking about putting a 20-inch main in that line, in that area. Here's that Area 2. Again, our estimates for the growth in that area, based on engineering and whatnot, call for a 12-inch diameter water main. Basically 1.3 million as a cost. So where does everything stand? Pulaski and Pittsfield entered into a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding about water. Does that mean that we signed a contract on the dotted line for sure that we're getting water? No, it means that we're continuing to discuss it because we know there's a potential. The town board is continuing doing what we've been asked to do, examine the options, and continue to move forward. Currently, there's PSC cases, as I said, Public Service Commission. Both of these water lines that are going in, have to go in front of the PSC. Those cases are in progress. Howard has its case for that green line on this map. The town has objected to that because we feel they don't need a 20-inch line there. We feel that they're overestimating their growth and that they shouldn't be coming up County Trunk Highway C into the township. We are objecting to that. That is public information in the PSC case. There's other points that we've made. I'm not going to get into all that, but those are the major points as to our objection with Howard putting that line in. The Pulaski case. Pulaski's running this line. We are not objecting. As a matter of fact, we're supporting it. We think it's good that Pulaski's correcting their water issues. There's written testimony at this point in time. The process currently, the process has currently taken written testimony from Pulaski, Howard, and Pittsfield as a secondary objector for the Howard case. The PSC actually, normally these would be two cases. There would be a case for the Pulaski installation and a case for the Howard installation. PSC, because of the close proximity and the fact that part of Howard's case is they are actually arguing that Pulaski should not be connecting to Green Bay Water, that they should actually allow Howard to run the line up. Yes, that is part of the case. They say that they should be the supplier for Pulaski. So the PSC has combined these two cases. So, as I said, direct testimony is going in, there's rebuttal testimony that's going in. There will be a hearing on July 9th. Prior to that, public can comment through written format on either case. Here is the case number for, this is the Village of Howard Water and Sewer Department. This is them running a 20-inch line. I'm putting this up here because if people want to comment on this, please feel free. This is, do you believe it's appropriate for Howard to run a 20-inch line into the township of Pittsfield? That case number is 2620-CW-104. You can get, if you search from the Public Service Commission for this, their case management system, you can be found, you can be led over to that. In the circled area down at the bottom, now accepting public comments, is what you would go to. This is the Pulaski case. This is the Pulaski wanting to get lake water. There's been a number of people that have commented on this case about Pittsfield getting water. If you want to do that, that's fine. This case is not about Pittsfield getting water. It is about Pulaski getting a water line. That's really what this case is about, and that's really what the PSC should be looking at when they look at this case. Again, I said, there's July 9th as a hearing. The final decision has to be made sometime, I forget the date, I don't remember exactly the date, but there is a state statute for these PSC cases to expire and decisions have to be made, and that's in December. After that decision is made, the town then can move forward if they decide to make that decision when we've looked at the totality of what's happened and decide, is it reasonable to go ahead and try to supply water to residents of the township, or do we not do that? That's what we've been tasked to do as your supervisors, is to look at that. I want to make sure that people understand, though, those people along certain areas, you've already seen annexation coming. The question is, as I said in the news report, it's when. If the township ends up not supplying water, it's not that you're not ever going to get water, it's when does the annexation come, and when does Howard annex property, when do you become part of Howard, when are you then, as per that mandatory ordinance, forced to take it? So understand, we're trying to battle, the town is looking at this totality. I want you to all understand that it's not an if, it's a when. And I don't know, we're trying to make those reasonable decisions and good decisions. That's my Pulaski water update at this point in time. We'll now move on.